All right, good morning, everyone. We're testing this out to see how presentations with audio work. This week, we're going to be working on cell biology and reviewing what we learned in our second unit. So, with this one, what we are looking at is what makes up a cell, how they function, and what defines life. So, starting off with that, what is life? We learned this, there are 5 characteristics of life, as seen here with this diagram that we did a long time ago about the frogs. Living things respond to their surroundings. So in this, we see that the frog is able to absorb sunlight, respond to conditions around it. When it gets cold, it will slow down its movement. Living things grow and develop. In the case of frogs, this is very visible as they start off as tadpoles and develop all the way up into adult frogs. Living things are able to reproduce. This is a key of all life. Living things are able to reproduce either asexually, meaning that they just go through this process of mitosis, or sexually, meaning they reproduce with others of their species. Living things use energy. This is what allows them to move around, jump, catch flies in the case of the frog. And finally, living things are made of smaller building blocks called cells, and we will go ahead and look at those a little bit later on in this presentation. So again, here we have them responding to your environment. You go into a dark room, your eyes adjust to it. Growth. This is where you look at things and how they change, not necessarily in size. Now, things do tend to increase in size, as you go from being a baby to an adult. But in the case of a single-celled organism, it's kind of difficult for them to change into multiple cells. So they take in extra resources and are able to then just kind of get the materials that they need and then go from there. Again, reproduction. This is where you end up with different types of the same species, different types of the same organism. Energy. This is taking in energy, food, water, gases such as oxygen. Cells, smallest unit of a living thing. This is the simplest structure. This is what carries out the processes of life and allows things to continue to grow and develop. Here we have our 4 pieces of cell theory. Living things are made up of 1 or more cells. Cells come only from existing cells, and we can see in the diagram for number 2 how they split and replicate. All an organism's life cells occur within the cell. Your cell itself responds to things around it. The cells reproduce. They go through mitosis, as we just covered recently. They use energy in the mitochondria, which we will talk about more in this. And cells contain the hereditary information necessary for regulating cell functions and transmitting information to the next generation of cells. In other words, they contain DNA, as we can see in the nice little neat ladder there. Even though there are different types of cells, all cells share some similar characteristics. All of them have a cell membrane. You can think of this as kind of like the tough part when you crack open a hard-boiled egg. Very similar to that. All cells contain organelles. These are the organs of the cell, as we reviewed last week. This is what allows them to carry out their functions, getting rid of waste, building things, etc. All cells contain cytoplasm. This is the, for lack of a better term, kind of like the jello stuff inside of it that gives it its structure. And all cells contain DNA. DNA is the instructions. It's what allows a cell to reproduce. It's what allows a cell to build the pieces that it needs. In the case of multi-celled organisms, it allows cells to differentiate. Here we have our animal cell. These are similar to what makes up all the cells throughout you. So we have all the different organelles in them. Starting at the top in the middle, we have the endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus, vacuole, ribosomes, cytoplasm, cell membrane, cytoskeleton, lysosomes, mitochondria, and Golgi body. Here we have the plant cells. Notice the similarities between them. Starting at the top again, we have the endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus, ribosomes, mitochondria. Now we have the cell wall. This is the main difference because plants don't have bones. So each of the cells themselves have a rigid surrounding structure that gives them their shape. We have a central vacuole in the plant cells. This is different than in animal cells because they require so much more water to go through the processes of photosynthesis. We have the cell membrane, the cytoskeleton, another new plant cell specific organelle, the cytoplasm, and finally the Golgi body. Now, I'm going through this a little bit quickly for this presentation, but you can always pause this or look through the presentation as well because I'll have that attached in the review in the Google Classroom. And again, each of these organelles does its own job. They go through, produce different things. They allow the cells to function similar to the way that your human body systems allow it to function. I will post in the Google Classroom some of the reviews for looking at cell type. Hope everybody's having, not saying a good, fun week, but at least